Yep. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the technical delay, but the life and world we live in. It gave me like 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm not going to take all that. So I just want to say good morning, everyone. And I actually wrote this down. So I know that's impressive because usually I don't write anything down. So thank you all for being here this morning and for taking the time to be part of this important conversation about the future of our community. Growth and change are inevitable, but but how we manage that growth is what truly defines us. As we move forward, we must focus on thoughtful planning and responsible development that benefits not just a few, but everyone. Development should never feel rushed, confusing, or disconnected from the people it impacts most. It should reflect a clear vision, fairness in process, and in transparency in decision-making. With staff, SwiftGov, and you, I really feel we can, in fact, obtain these goals as well as what we are about to lay forward together. One of the biggest challenges we face in addressing the gray areas within our current systems, the inconsistencies that you have heard me state many times, unclear processes, and a lack of communication that often creates frustration and distrust. When rules appear unclear or are applied differently from one situation to another, it undermines confidence in leadership and in the process itself. That is why we must work toward streamlining our process. Efficiency matters, clarity matters, consistency matters. Residents, business owners, and developers alike deserve process that are understandable, fair, and predictable. By simplifying procedures and improving communication, we can reduce unnecessary conflict and create a system that works better for everyone involved. Rezoning and development discussions can often become divisive, but they do not have to be. We should approach these conversations with open minds and a willingness to listen. Welcoming public opinion and community ideas is not a weakness, it is a strength. The people who live, work, and raise families here bring valuable insight and deserve to have their voices heard. Progress is most successful when it is collaborative. We move forward together by building trust, encouraging respectful dialogue, and creating opportunities for meaningful public involvement. Every idea may not be adopted, but every voice deserves consideration. Our goal should not simply be growth for the sake of growth. Our goal should be smart, sustainable progress that preserves the character of our community while preparing responsibility for the future. We have an opportunity to create systems that are more transparent, more efficient, and more inclusive than they have ever been before. Moving forward, let us commit ourselves to the betterment of all, not just today, but the generations to come. Let us lead with consistency, fairness, accountability, and vision. And let us remember that the strongest communities are built when people come together, work together, and plan together. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Curry. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Dugan, and what I'm going to do is pass the mic to Stephen Showman, the Director of Development Services in Walton County.
Good morning. I'm going to get up early morning. First, thank you. I'm sorry. Do I need to get my mic on? All right. Well, let me find a place to put my coffee down without spilling it. Well, thank you for opening us up, Commissioner Curry. It's going to be a hard act to follow for me because I didn't write anything down. But thank you all for coming. I see just as many varied folks, dreams, desires, complaints, and concerns, and everything else wrapped up into this little room that we deal with every day. And I appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to us and let us know your thoughts and your feelings and the direction that you all want to see this county go and continue to grow, because it's not going to stop, right? And that's partly why we're here. We get more folks in here every day, every week, every month, every year. Things are continuing to escalate, and by that I mean all of our needs, our infrastructure needs, water, sewer, transportation, all the things that I think we don't really consider until we're stuck in that traffic or until our water pressure is a little lower than we want. But we all need to be aware of how these things impact our lives. We need to be aware that some of you folks sat in traffic this morning on the way to get here. That some of you are trying to build a house and maybe you're getting caught up in planning or building or another piece of the bureaucratic puzzle. So thank you again. Mr. Curry, Commissioner Curry, said some very real things, right? There is a need in our planning department and the county as a whole to create consistency and to hone in on efficiency and to create a planning department and a planning mechanism, review procedures and processes that all hold a very common understanding and without deviation from one individual to another in our departments, right? That creates confusion. So consistency, consistency. I just just combined efficiency and consistency. So forgive me, it is Monday morning after all. But what I'm trying to get to is that we're here for a purpose, right? We're here to guide this county forward together, right? With the help of our SwiftGov partners, we've just entered into a 3-year-long contract with them that is going to further our pursuit in those key tenements of the things I've just discussed, right? Efficiency, consistency, planning together. So this is really the start off to the next week and a half of these things. I'm honestly surprised that all of you are here on a Monday morning. So again, I appreciate your time. I'm sure there's more that I could say, probably some valuable things that I could lend to this conversation. But I'm going to go ahead and ask my deputy director, Ms. Kelly Schultz, to come up and probably pick up the pieces that I've left on the floor up here. But again, good morning and thank you. And I look forward to a lively conversation over the next couple hours here. So thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I know I got to meet some of you earlier when I was being nosy. I was just curious as to why people are here. I find it interesting because, we know if there's someone who's an elected official, why they might be at a meeting, or like Curtis here, who's an engineer, what his interest would be. But there are a lot of faces I didn't know. And I met a couple of you who are just citizens interested in learning more about the process. And that just tickles me to death. I'm so glad that you all came out. I know we apologize for the technical difficulty. I wanted to say it again because your time is valuable. And I'm sorry that we wasted so much of it, and we'll try to do better next time. And one of the nice things about what's happening is that we are trying to get better as a unit, as public servants, as, as a department, as we're growing forward. Stephen's a tough act to follow too. And if Stephen has been our director for a while now, and I tell him, and I tell anybody that'll listen, the things that I appreciate Stephen about the most, or the thing, is that when there's a question about how to do something or what we should do in a certain situation, Stephen says, go to the code, tell me what it says. And he follows that. It's not as situational, like, oh, well, let's see how we can work a situation or whatever. And that means a lot, because then we're able to be consistent. And quite frankly, we get to take credit for a lot of for how things work. But at the end of the day, we're here to carry out what the Board of County Commissioners wants in the form of a land development code and comp plan that guides the land development code. We don't get to make the rules, which is why, again, I appreciate Stephen's approach. What does the code say? We go back and sometimes we have to read like an intent statement to try to be able to interpret what the rules are. But it's been very refreshing, and I do appreciate him for that. So what Ms. Sabrina asked me to do today is to just kind of go through the forms that are associated with what we call the BPR process. And just so, it is very confusing. Haven't been a planner since.
And right before Kelly kicks this off, let's jump into a quick survey to see who's in here and what you guys know before Kelly gives you the answers to the test before you take the test. So let's go ahead and do a quick survey. If you can use your phones to scan that QR code. This will be some ways for us to get some thoughts and feedback prior to our session together. As soon as the gang has been able to scan the QR code, we'll be able to really get to know you guys and, the audience and what you guys are eager to learn to make sure we do cover everything. And we're going to do our best to do so. So what I'll do is, as soon as people have scanned this, I will stop sharing my screen for 2 seconds so that way I can show you the live survey results.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Sabrina.
Not a problem.
Is it a long question or is it a short one?
It's a long one.
Well, I'm just going to kind of wait till everybody looks up, puts their phones down before I get started. Take a minute or so.
Yes,
Screens are
that's
off?
correct. That's correct. I unplugged my screen. It's okay. We're about to do a reshare so that way you guys can see each other's answers and responses. I will ask that people stay professional, play nice. This is something where we are doing a live share so that way everybody is in the loop with responses that will be delivered. This is going to start the survey as soon as I reshare my screen. So again, please just stay professional, play nice. We're all here to support each other. We are very eager to get some of your thoughts and feedback on your relation to the land development code. So give me 1 second and I will reshare my screen. All right, everyone. If you weren't able to scan that QR code, you can go ahead and scan it again. You should see the screen populate soon. All right, everyone. This is an interactive survey, so as soon as you respond to the first question, that means that we will get everybody's responses and you will also be able to see other people's responses. So the first question out of 10 questions will be, what is your primary relationship to the land use and development in Walton County? Are you a full-time resident, a part-time resident, property owner, builder or contractor, developer, architect, engineer, or design professional? All right. Yes, kidding. Give me 1 second. Okay, yes. Give me 1 second. All right, give me 1 second. All right. We are starting now. Yes, my apologies. All right, do you know your current zoning district? Yes, no, I have an idea, but I'm not sure. I have more than one property, and I am not sure about all of them. All right. Yeah. If you guys want to participate, you can go jump in on the QR code. All right, we'll move on to the next question. Now that we've moved on to the next question, do you believe your current zoning is accurate for your property or area? Yes, no, I am not sure. I would need help confirming. This does not apply to me. All right, looks like 42% are saying yes, 23 at no, 15% this does not apply to me. That's great. Awesome. Thank you guys for participating. All right, and the more participation we get, the more helpful this will be to take your comments and feedback and utilize that towards the land development code rewrite long-term. All right, on to the next question. Have you ever had to look up or use Walton County Land Development Code? Never, I have not needed to use it. Never, I did not know where to find it. Once, 2 to 3 times, 4 to 6 times, 7 to 10 times, or more than 10 times. All right. And if you're just now joining, feel free to jump in at any time. You scan the QR code and you can go ahead and give us some responses. We would appreciate participation. How user-friendly is the current land development code? Very user-friendly, somewhat user-friendly, neutral, not very user-friendly, not user-friendly at all. I have not used it. All right, awesome. When using the land development code, what is the hardest part? Finding the section I need, understanding the language, knowing which rules apply to my property, understanding zoning and future land use together, understanding setbacks or dimensional standards, understanding environmental or flood requirements, knowing what documents or approvals are required, understanding the review process. Do you have any specific issues, concerns, or conflicts with the current land development code? All right, this one is open, so feel free to dive on in and write some nice comments and feedback. And again, as much detail as possible. The more detail you give us, the more we can focus on those items. Right now, some of the items that are populating by 6 out of the 22 people that responded, communication, zoning changes, alignment with the comp plan, interpretation of special zones and their requirements. All right, so far, most of you were averaging around 15 people were responding, and now there's only 6. Come on, what? I know you guys have a lot of feedback. Some of you were telling me, and you know, thank you guys for taking some time to write these comments and feedback down. It is very helpful. Oh, you're good. I can definitely stop talking. You're good. All right, we'll stay here for 1 more minute. And we're on to the next one. What would you like, sorry? Oh, sorry. What would you most like to change about the land development code? Make it easier to search, use clearer language, add more examples or diagrams, improve organization, make property-specific rules easier to find, clarify single-family homes, clarify environmental regulations, make review requirements more predictable. All right, on to the next one. Which LDC topics need the most clarification? This one is open-ended. How confident are you that you know where to find accurate zoning or LDC information on your property? We have 2 left, so as soon as we're done with those 2, Kelly will give you the answers to the test. So Kelly will do a nice little walkthrough on the applicant requirements, so that way you guys can get a deeper dive, and also feel free to ask some questions in a few minutes. What is one thing that would make zoning or the LDC information easier for you to understand? All right, I'm seeing a lot of phones down, so I'm just going to keep going. All right. You were just a little speedy for us. That's, you were kicking it and rocking and rolling. So, that's awesome for those of you that were able to complete it early. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reshare my screen so that way Kelly can kick it back off. And back to you, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know, you probably know Stephen, and I've introduced myself. Donnie's Way is our building permit floodplain review manager. This is what we're talking about today, is the function that she manages. I'm going to let Sabrina introduce her folks. Of course, you're Commissioner Curry. And then I don't know how many of you have met our Deputy County Administrator, Mike Thornton. He's been with us for a little bit. We're really pleased to have him on board. But I wanted you to know the faces and who works for you. Those are, and we do appreciate our commissioners for allowing us to bring our SwiftGov partners on. This is obviously new, using artificial intelligence in the planning sector. Having done this for 30 years, it's definitely an adventure. I was very skeptical at first, but so far they've made me a believer. And look forward to the partnerships. Sabrina, do you just want to tell folks your staff's name, just so they know who they're staring at up here?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Dugan. I am a managing partner at SwiftGov. With me, I have John Merkin, co-founder and managing partner of SwiftGov, and also Cesar Castro, director of sustainability and resiliency with SwiftGov. So today we're going to be helping some of the dialogue for the land development code rewrite so we can get as much, and when I say today, the whole week and a half, 2 weeks. So we're really excited to be here for the ride to get as much citizen input as possible.
Thank you for that. Okay, so back to the discussion on the forms. There are a couple of these documents that are being passed around. I know it's hard to look and talk, so after we finish our discussions with you, you're welcome to take a look at those. We do appreciate Donnie's for putting this together. One of the complaints, if you will, that we've heard is having everything in one spot. Like, how do I know where to go? Because I don't have just a one-stop shop, if you will, for what I need to gather up to submit my application to Walton County for them to be able to review it. So we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but there will be one place to go to get all your forms. And in this packet, the first document that is shown is what we call the application. It's just a one-page, very general information. You check a box on what you're doing, you give us your parcel number, and some very, very general information. And also part of that, that application is what we call a compliance affidavit. And what that is it's a notarized document that just basically says that everything you've submitted is true and to the best of your knowledge. And it also lets you know that if things change, say you have to have some kind of a field modification and it causes issues with compliance with the land development code, then your BPR can be revoked. And what I started to say earlier that's confusing to folks, like I was saying, having done this for a really long time and in different jurisdictions, Walton's different. And, in some places you go to, you submit one application and you don't really know what's happening in the background, right? Like it'll go to planning, it'll go to different departments, and they're reviewing it and then getting it to the building department. But your interaction is usually with the building department. Here, it's basically a two-step process. So you submit to planning. Our staff reviews your application for basically the structure meets setbacks, but other than that, it's the stuff on the property: wetlands, flood zone, setbacks, preservation, stormwater, that sort of thing. And then once the BPR is approved, then that goes to the building department for your actual construction permit. So I just wanted to clarify that in case that didn't make sense to some folks. The next form in this packet is your master stormwater plan letter of compliance. This is a relatively new form in speaking. It basically, and again, this only applies if you are in a community that has a master stormwater plan. So the older subdivisions don't have them. But, and when I say older, I don't even know what date to use, but all the new ones pretty much do. But if you're not in a master stormwater plan community, then you have a couple of options. You can use what we call the 3 BMPs, the best management practices, and those are, I won't go into great detail, but you have certain things you can do on your property to keep from having to put some sort of a stormwater feature on your property, like a stormwater pond or swales or something that's going to hold the water when we do get heavy rains. And it depends on your foundation type. We do limit how much impervious area you put on your property or how much fill you bring in. So that's an option. And then you also have the option of doing an on-site stormwater plan. And sometimes even in a master stormwater plan community, if what you want to do is more than the engineer designed, then you can still add a stormwater feature, complete your project, but it would just enhance the master stormwater plan. And again, I'm talking in very general terms. I'm not going to go into great detail on that, but we can take questions later. So if you have questions about that, I suggest just jot them down so you don't forget them, because we want to help answer as many questions as we can today. The next form in this packet is the affidavit for accessory dwelling units. We call them ADUs for short. Every lot in listen to me, in Walton County, unless you had some sort of environmental issue, you're entitled to what we call an accessory dwelling unit, mother-in-law apartment. There's lots of different names for them. And in Walton County, you can have a maximum of 800 square feet, that's heated and cooled space in an accessory dwelling unit, unless you have a smaller home that your ADU can't exceed 75% of the square footage of your primary dwelling, of your home. So this affidavit basically just explains that you understand that. And it's been changed recently because the Board of County Commissioners changed the rules on that. It used to be that you could not use those for short-term vacation rentals. That restriction, if you will, has been eliminated. So this updated form did remove that requirement that you have to certify that you would not rent it out, basically, on a short-term vacation rental. Next form in the packet is your agricultural limited review application. This is for folks that are zoned, that have an ag designation through the property appraiser. They have their own process for designating you as ag. And what this allows us to do is to waive your fees for the application, which is $100, and then the clearing fee, which is $25. Now, if you need something else on the property, like let's say that with your ag building, you need a temporary power pole, then there'll still be a $25 fee for that, but it waives our general review fees. Next, we have an affidavit for combining 2 or more parcels. This gets a little tricky sometimes because you have to be what we call a lot of record. Your property had to exist in its current shape, size, everything as of November 7th of 1996. That's our magic lot of record date. And that's basically when the comp plan went into effect back in the day. So what this form lets you do, if you own two lots of record that are adjoining, you can build over the property line. And this is, you're acknowledging, and it's notarized, that you understand that you can't sell that second parcel unless you bring it back into compliance with setbacks and all the things. And this document is recorded, and we can't move forward with your BPR for your house not to meet setbacks until we get that recorded copy back, and it's recorded with the clerk of court. The next one gives you some guidance on wildlife conservation, the wildlife conservation zone, or turtle lighting, if you will. And it's an affidavit that we use in conjunction with the Fish and Wildlife, I think. Is that right, Donnies? Okay, she's yes. To try to make sure that turtle nesting and those friendly little creatures are protected. The next form is called the National Flood Insurance Program. We call it NFIP for short, the V-Zone certification. We have a floodplain specialist or a floodplain manager in-house. So if you ever have questions about flood zone, how it impacts your property, what you have to do to build, then come on in, welcome. Then she's happy to help. Her name is Tracy Goodhart. She's a wealth of knowledge and would be much more apt to explain how this all works. I'm not even going to try to get into that. It's a whole area of expertise. I'm not even going to try to get too deep into it. And we also have a non-conversion agreement. This would be used, like, let's say that you have, you build your garage on the bottom floor. You're in a flood zone. You build your garage on the bottom floor. You live on the second floor. This is certifying that you understand that you can't convert that first floor into habitable space because it's not going to most likely meet the requirements of the flood zone that you're in. And again, that's only if you're in a special hazard flood area. If you're in a zone X, then that's not going to apply to you. If you're in the 0.2%, that's not going to apply to you. That's going to be if you're in an A zone. Some are unnumbered. It just says A. Some say A, like it'll have AE and then a number after it, which is the base flood elevation, and you go 1 foot above that. But anyway, again, I won't bore you with all the details of that requirement, but that's what that form is for. And then we have the BPR stormwater submittal FFE exemption. It's basically it's if you're not 1 foot above the road. Let me make sure I'm saying this right, Donnies. If you're not 1 foot above the crown of the road, this is like a waiver.
Yes, if you do, except for flood zones have a definitive level that you have to meet. But if it is a parcel of land and you have meets and bounds description and you're far enough away from the roadway and you have positive drainage away from the house, you can get an exception to that FFE requirement of 1 foot above the crown of the road. So there's a process to go through that.
Thank you. Okay, next is white sands. The process, the application for white sands. And you know, a lot of these requirements that we're talking about are only going to apply if you're south of the bay. So I guess I probably should have clarified that. Most of our, you know, when I talked about stormwater, and most of our developments north of the bay, you're not going to have the same requirements. White sands, you're not going to have that requirement if you're north of the bay. Turtle lighting, you're not going to have to worry about that. So, but if you are south of the bay, then there, you know, obviously it's a more environmentally sensitive area in a lot of ways. And I mean, so you're kind of on an island, if you will. And so there are a lot more requirements once you go south of the Choctawhatchee Bay. And I apologize for not clarifying that previously. The next form relates to beach mice. We have 2 tiers for beach mice. That is a protected species, believe it or not. And that's also a south of the bay requirement. And there's an affidavit that you have to complete if you fall into one of those zones. And we're going to get into a little bit later, once we start talking about GIS, how you can identify which of these zones, if you will, how you can find if they affect your property. White sands, beach mice, turtle lighting, you know, those sort of things, and others as well. The next form is a driveway permit. I look at Commissioner Curry. It's a relatively new form that Public Works processes, but we intake for it. I didn't say I was going to be nice, did I? Yes, sir? To tell if they're public or private roads? Right. I mean, I wouldn't think so. Now, I'm trying to remember, I don't use this particular GIS layer a lot, but there is one that shows county maintained roads, which hopefully when we get into that part of the discussion, I don't know if we're planning on showing that layer. And the easiest way that I can tell you to find it is if you go to the Public Works website, they have an interactive GIS map, and you can put in the parcel number, and then there's the roads basically have colors on them to show you what county roads are.
But it still asks you for the form to be extended.
They still complete the form? Okay.
Every property, even if you do 600 homes in a neighborhood, but it's not every single one has to be filled and
Public
And
Works requires
I
it?
think
Okay.
that's something with Public Works, what Development Services can do is afterwards we can follow up with Public Works. And if you would like to include Development Services in the email, I think us as a team, and I'm speaking maybe a little out of turn, but I think we would support that discussion. So if you don't mind sending an email and including Development Services, feel free to do so, because then we can kind of discuss at a broader conversation for larger communities as well on how you guys can do this a bit more efficiently, because obviously it's not saving the county time and it's not saving you guys time. So if we can make it more efficient, I don't see why we wouldn't support that discussion.
Absolutely, and thank you for the suggestion, and that's what this is for, so thank you for that. I mean, I can't promise that we can fix it, or change it, but we can certainly talk about it and ask if there's a better way. I tell you what, why don't you, just because it's easier to write down, why don't you send it to the general planning email address, which is planning@mywaltonfl.gov, G-O-V. If you send it to that, and if, I don't know if you want to just put hey, come on in, good morning. In the subject line, if you want to just put for Kelly, so they can just forward it on over to me. And then I can collect those, and we can include that as part of our discussion. So thank you for the question. Last but not least, this is a relatively new document as well, and this again is for South Walton. We do have a North Walton mosquito control district, but South Walton is a very active mosquito control district, and they have some standards that they have provided. So again, if you're not south of the bay, you don't have to worry about it. If you are, then especially if you have a mosquito control ditch near your property, then there's some things that have to be taken into consideration. And I know that was a lot, but that's it.
I have a question, Kelly.
Yes.
You were, I wrote this down earlier. You were talking about having two properties and you could encroach on the other property if you owned them, but then you'd have to be in compliant if you sold them. So would that be in effect if you sold both properties together?
No.
So I could sell them both and leave what I built and
Right.
give it to the next person?
That's a good question. Yes, absolutely. So, and we see that, sometimes somebody will want to build more of like I don't know, I've even seen it over 3 properties, more like an estate type, and this one was south of the bay. So as long as they're all maintained together, that's fine. The problem comes in is whenever you want to scoot a lot line over. And I see a lot of faces in here that know this, but some faces I'm not familiar with. So I'll just say, if you do change a property line, please, please, please come to us first. Don't just go to the property appraiser. Statutorily, they'll move lot lines, they'll split lots all day long. But if it does not come through our department, if we realize whenever you do come to get a permit that lot is not the original, I'm going to say original for lack of a better word, lot. Like it's not how it was configured in a recorded subdivision, or it's not how it was configured November 7th of 1996, then you're going to have issues. And I think that the property appraiser has something now that that whenever you do go to split a lot, that they say, hey, warning, Will Robinson, check with planning. But they didn't used to have that. So we had people going and splitting lots. And if you don't work in this stuff, you're not going to understand that. You're going to think a county agency split my lot. I'm good. And then there's so many when they come to us. I mean, I hate to say we have to break their hearts or kill their dreams, but that's how it feels. I mean, it's personal to them. And we have to say, we cannot issue you a permit. I'm sorry. I mean, and sometimes there's ways to fix it after the fact, and sometimes there's not. Sometimes if it's in a recorded subdivision, you don't just fix it. You have to start with a development order. Sometimes we can do it through a less than minor, but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of aggravation, a lot of stress, a lot of time. And it's not what we don't want to impose that on our residents, our citizens, but sometimes that's what happens. So if you want to do anything with your property, I just ask, call us. I mean, we're busy, but we'll make time. And if you can't get answers through, just the planner of the day, what she's really good about coming to people if she doesn't understand stuff, coming to us and letting us tell her what folks need to do. But if you can't get satisfaction, you got my name. I'm the only Kelly so far. So.
One follow-up, Kelly.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me.
So we're basically, if you sold the lot, does this become, what kind of red flags become evident when that property changes hands? Is that part of disclosure? Is it, because if I bought your lot, what's going to show me, hey, before I sell it again, I got to move this building unless I sell it as a double lot? What is there? Is that just,
I don't
is that
know
out
that
of
there
your?
is. I don't know that there is. Donnie, you might know better because you work in this every day.
We might have to go back and look into that one a little bit.
Okay.
I think that seems like it might be a little bit of a longer process, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, our staff is trained on looking at whether or not a property is a lot of record. And we're actually, like I said earlier, we're trying to grow as a department and as professionals, individuals. And one of the things that we have coming up is we have our county surveyor coming in to give us some additional training on that, because it is complicated sometimes. But our staff is really good at going through the records and determining if a lot line has been changed, or if a property's been split. Sometimes we have older ones before the compliance affidavit where, folks just did it, especially if it was built in 1994 or, whatever year it might have been built prior to November 7th of 96.
I just didn't want it to be some kind of surprise on the next person, and they're like, well, I didn't know.
Look, folks,
Well,
I mean,
I think also while doing standard operating procedures, that might be another one that Development Services can put on the list, I think. Because right now, what Development Services, what we've been doing together, we're starting to go through each of the different types of reviews. So that way we can make sure things are more transparent to the applicants. So putting together a list of what is actually required when submitting a plan. So that way, hypothetically, the applicant, if they are following the rules and regulations, they could get first round approval, which is huge for everyone, because then it's not wasting time with staff going back and forth with applicants, but also not wasting applicant time. You're no longer going to have to wait as long as you are following the rules. So that's another thing, is if it's appropriate, then it's something that should get approved faster. So what we'll do is, I think we'll do a deep dive on that as well on Development Services. We might have to look into that one a little bit longer, just because I believe there's a little bit of history with that, the lot of record.
there is, but, I'll just add this. It sounds like I'm being snarky, and I don't mean to say this, but the old adage, buyer beware, it's so true. I mean, it is so true. And just because there's a real estate agent involved doesn't mean that you're buying a property that's buildable.
And Kelly, I might jump in. I have a question as well. So when somebody's going to buy a property, their best approach, like me as a resident, what would be my best approach when going to buy a property in Walton County?
We have, I mean, I don't know how to say if it's a daily basis, but I mean, regularly, folks will come in and say, hey, look, I'm looking to buy this piece of property. Any red flags? And our folks are happy to look at it.
So the planning department wouldn't have a problem, like if me, a resident or an applicant or anybody was to say, hey, Walton County Planning Team, at the planning email, which we'll have at the end of today's session as well, that's not a problem for staff?
It's not. I mean, if it may take us a few days, but there are a lot of people who, as part of their due diligence, will come sit down and talk to our planner on duty. I mean, that person is available. We have somebody, you can walk in Monday through Friday, minus holidays, from 8 o'clock till 4, and whoever that person is at the time is happy to help you. I would say that we have had it where somebody will come in with, 10 properties, and, we may not have time to look at all 10 of them at that point in time, but we're happy to look at them, and obviously, we're people too, so, we'll look at it and give you the best information that we have.
Such as the property history, if there were any violations on that property, or?
Well, that's not part of our process really, but to look at that, maybe it's something that we need our planner on duty to add.
Okay.
But,
Well, as we progress forward, these are some of the items that we could look up online, correct? Where they didn't even have to come in and bug you guys.
Yes.
They can look up online easily, not without hitting 10 clicks to find one
Yes.
thing, but something that would direct them to their answers. Without calling you or without coming into you, they could look up, maybe the first line of defense is look up on the internet on our site and say, oh, well, there it is. Yep.
I mean, and some of it, again, I've had people say things like, well, the property's got a parcel number. You're telling me I can't build on it? Yeah, I'm sorry, it is. I mean, that is what I'm telling you. I mean, and so many times people think, which you go to any person under the Walton County umbrella, and they think that they know everything about everything, and we don't. I mean, we're compartmentalized. We all have specialties, and there are things that we look at. So, I don't know off the cuff how we could guarantee there's not any issue, but, it might be that we could come up with a list of common gotchas, like.
Which I think that's actually not with previous homes or properties, but I think even moving into the next portion, which is going to be this, what are the top comments that single-family homes receive? We could apply that to property due diligence and informing the consumer, which is awesome because I think we have the Realtors Association in here. I was talking Tom and Ann earlier, so it'll be good to kind of continue that dialogue with them as well, so that way they can inform the consumer, because I believe that's something that they're very involved with as well. So, I think that's a great idea.
I think more is better when it comes to looking up some of this stuff online, especially when you're dealing with single-family homes, land development, environmental, all that. I mean, you guys are limited in staff,
Right.
number one. So there's some people that they want that personal one-on-one time or that phone call, but a lot of people would rather just do it online, but they gotta be comfortable with the information that they're getting online is actually true.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think as we progress forward, I think that's one way to alleviate some of the stress and maybe overwork in the planning department.
That's right, and I just want to add, so, and we're not basing our decisions, on the map information that we have available, right? We always rely on the most current available data through a survey instrument, site plan. Those are what we look at when we review an application. We're not relying on the county's GIS, as accurate as it may be at times. That's based on satellite imagery, LiDAR, those sort of things, where it's not been ground truth, right? So I just want to add that, but
Yeah.
I think probably now is a good time for Donice to kind of get up and.
I think
and-
so.
Yeah, yeah, talk us through some of these details.
So, Donnie, I'll turn it over to you.
They just threw you right in, didn't they?
If you know me, you know that's how
Good morning, I'm Donice. I am the Building Plans Review Manager. I have a team of 6 folks that are under my leadership that we review any of the site plans that are coming in through our online portal, InterGov. And InterGov is the tool, the mechanism that you can view any properties online, any activity that is going on with that property. Thank you. We take those in and look at those. You can see code enforcement, you can see the building department information, and also planning information on that online portal. So when someone comes in for a BPR, you are submitting, whether it be a contractor or a homeowner, you have documents. And some of those documents that Kelly went through in that book, those are required documents that you have to have, along with your plans, your floor plans, your elevations, site plan, flood zone information, wetland information. Those are required. When you go into the portal and submit those documents, they will get put into a queue. When they get put into the queue, then they come into my side of the house. We will review them for completeness. Do you have it? Do you have all the tickets that you need to have? Once we do that, then we roll them over for assignment. We have been working where Water Sound Subdivision may have 2 of my reviewers so that they become experts in that area. And we try to do that all over the county. I have at least 2 that are reviewing certain areas. So then they will get those assigned. From that BPR person, they're looking at all things on the site plan: wetlands, flood zone, parking, height, aesthetics, neighborhood plans. Are you in the white sand zone? Are you in a coastal dune protection zone? All of those items, tributary buffers, any of that. We look at all of that. We also have peripheral reviews that we have to do. So you are in a flood zone, you're having to build to FEMA guidelines, so you will have an elevation certificate that you have to submit to us, whether it's an A, an AE, a V zone, a coastal A zone. You have certain documents that you have to submit. Those will get reviewed by our floodplain manager, Tracy Goodhart. If you are in a wetland area, you have DEP permits that you've impacted that area. That will get reviewed by our environmental planner, Brad Bone. If you also have white sands, he looks at those. If you're in a coastal dune protection area, he looks at those. If you are a bay shore buffer or a shoreline buffer, he looks at those. And our comp plan requires if you are more than 2 acres in size, he reviews those according to the comp plan. So there are wildlife lighting. If you are on the beach area, there are certain guidelines that you have to abide by for our turtle lights, beach mouse, all of those environmental issues. So we have another 3rd layer that reviews those. Then we get to stormwater. So if you have a stormwater plan, it gets submitted, and we have a 3rd-party review that does that stormwater plan. If it is under the 3 BMPs, then we usually review all that information in-house. If it's a master stormwater plan, then we go with the compliance form that was in that package, and then we send it on through review. Once everyone's review is complete, all items are accounted for, resubmitted corrections or approvals, then we will issue you the planning approval packet. And in that planning approval packet, there are conditions of the approval, and then there are also separate items that you will have to turn into us during the process. You will take that document to the building department. The building department will issue your construction permit. You will have both planning review, condition items, and building construction items that you will have to comply with. And then when we get to the end of your project, there may be some inspections and approvals, and then we will get your document
to the construction department for them to get your CO or certificate of completion and deem your project complete. Now, most of that was geared towards single family. We also have commercial projects that we have to do that goes through the development order processes that we look at as well. So that is another 10 reviews on top of what a single family has to do. So we work with staff to keep them up to date on what we're doing. A big issue, and it's seasons upon us, is parking. We have crazy parking, and when we have houses come in, we want to know that they've got adequate parking for what they're going to have at that house. We know that everybody has a crazy party, and they have lots of cars everywhere. But on the regular basis, we want to make sure if they have a certain number of bedrooms, 900 square foot, one parking space. That's what we look at on the site plans. And all of that has to fit. In the north end, we don't have any problems. Usually they have acres, but in the south end, they're very smaller lots. And it gets kind of tricky trying to develop everything with the size house that they want on there. So we have a lot that we look at. We have a lot that we ask questions about and help us to get compliance with the Land Development Code. And why we're here today, we understand that we have conflicts and we have issues. We deal with them every day. We want to hear from y'all to tell us, here's what we have on a regular basis, what our conflicts are, what we can do, so that we can go through and make the changes in our Land Development Code. And that's where I want to say thank you to the commissioners for supporting us and our partners with SwiftGov to get those changes made so that it's easier, better, and we don't have conflicts. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Citizen
Citizen
serve?
serve. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, so Citizen Serve and Tyler Technologies, those are their own platforms. We're actually an internal staff tool. We're not currently applicant facing. It's not anything that applicants or public interfaces with. It's kind of like a calculator that automatically checks the plans as they come in. So that way we can make sure the GIS overlays are taken into consideration. Mhm. That's within Tyler, yes.
For any of our permits that were submitted prior to 2023, those are going to be on Citizen Serve.
Can the public access Citizen Serve right now?
I thought
Yes.
that there was still a
But we
link.
allowed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Tabitha, just, I feel your frustration, and even us as staff, like, we have to go ask Shauna to pull things for us, because, you know, at one point, there was the Access Database, at one point, there was Naviline, then there was Citizen Serve, now there's Intergov. So you know, it's terrible that we have to do that, but there's not a one-stop shop for finding historical data.
Yeah, I realize that now. Mm-hmm. I need to find a way to get access to that as well, so.
To Citizen Serve?
Yes.
Okay.
Shoot us an email to the planning email address, planning@mywaltonfl.gov. And you can put it on there, need access to Citizen Serve, and we'll provide that link.
So is there any direction in the future to merge some of these sites so all the data is on one, or
I
they're
believe
impossible to talk to
actually-
each other?
Yeah, so
Your guys' contract with Tyler, Tyler was supposed to help with your migration from Citizen Serve into Tyler, correct?
no,
Okay,
no, that
so,
wasn't part of their contract.
Okay.
So we have undertaken some of this work in the past unsuccessfully. I believe we hired out to a third party, and the records weren't saved properly, and they just kind of made a mess of our physical records. So It is absolutely on our radar to create a primary database for staff and for the public to gain access to all this. But getting there it's been proving difficult, so.
I just know in the private industry, whenever we took on new, I guess you would say software, one of the first questions were, hey, this is what our operating system is now. Can you take the data that we have and put it in your system?
Right.
If they said no, then they were off the list. So I know hindsight's always 20/20, but I just want to know going forward, is there any way to capture that old data and we could put it in one bank?
Well,
for people to
actually,
look at.
from the private side, I think that's a great illustration that you just laid out, because even the National Institute of Standards Technology Framework, they highly suggest that new vendors coming in, that it is kind of best practices to support data migration. We have supported teams with that previously. It's something I think we can talk further on offline. We have supported jurisdictions. SwiftGov is currently working with jurisdictions across the state of Florida in populations of 60,000 to 1.65 million, the largest being the city of Jacksonville, Duval County. So we are very, when we partner with a jurisdiction, we do try everything we can to support them. So if that's something this team wanted to do a deeper dive on, I think we can try to. But we have successfully helped people migrate their data into one consolidated platform, because that is one of the biggest hurdles that we've seen with switching platforms as well. So I do agree with Ms. Tabitha on that. Yeah.
That's an extreme, problem, to be honest with you. I mean, I wouldn't want to look into 4 different sites, and I know you guys don't want to go back and look into 4
we don't.
different sites. So, I mean, if there's something from a board standpoint that we can look into, I'd be glad to look into helping migrate all that stuff into one bank, so we're not asking 5 people for one answer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things, obviously, considerations that are wrapped up in this conversation, resources, funding, all of those things need to be considered.
Yes.
But absolutely, and just Tabitha, for some additional information, when we did transition from CitizenServe to Intergov, staff did migrate a lot of, we migrated all our open projects over, and then I think we had a window of time where we looked at pulling everything back in that we had done within, a year or two. So we did some of that, but we did not contract out to pull all that information. Again, with board support, we can absolutely, and SwiftGov support, I think we can get there.
And
I'm
just
hopeful.
real quick with the raise of hands, who in here has experienced issues with any of the platforms? Okay.
That's why we're here.
Okay, awesome. I mean, this is good feedback, and we do appreciate the comments. So, and I believe there's quite a few other people that wanted to talk about the platform utilization as well. Jean, did you want to say something?
Yes. Entergov, ENERGOV. That's our current planning portal. ENERGOV. If you navigate to the Planning and Development Services page, on that left-hand side in a blue or gray box, the very top says Online Portal. Once you click on that online portal, then it takes you to the Intergov page, and that has 4 tabs on there. You can look universal, or you can go strictly to the planning tab. There's automatic statuses that are populated on Intergov. That is kind of confusing to most folks, because you may be in a workflow and you may have 6 reviewers. Like I said, we have peripheral reviews, that you may have multiple reviewers, both on the development order side and on the BPR side, that one may have a review done, but the other may not be complete or requires a resubmittal. So sometimes what is projected on that front page may be not totally accurate as to where that project's at.
Take that, Denise?
Well, you got two different scenarios.
Yeah.
Development order side of the house, Kelly can answer for you.
Well, I think what we could do, because we are going to come up to a Q&A portion of this as well. So in real quick, site plan basics, we do want to leave this on the screen so that way if anybody wants to take some pictures. This is for a building permit review process, all the requirements for single-family home. What are the other BPR applications?
We have
Lonnie?
accessory structures, swimming pools, stormwater plans by themselves. So those are temporary poles. Those are typical
Yeah.
BPRs that we have submitted.
Awesome, thank you. And, just graphic scales, north arrows, legal descriptions, street names. Verify the street name. You can utilize GIS to verify the street name, or if you have questions on the street name, let's say it hypothetically changed, feel free to call staff. Zoning district information, lot of record, legal lot, property dimensions, impervious surface ratio. Again, I'll leave this on the screen if anybody wants to take pictures. We do have one more on building details, and then we can get into a deeper dive on Q&A with the audience, so that way we can continue to hear people's thoughts. I would love to actually go around the room for those that would like to say their, and this is something we weren't actually planning on doing, but since it's kind of a reoccurring topic, it would be great to hear what you like or don't like about the current platform, so that way we can make sure that we address those comments as much as possible and start fixing it to make it user-friendly. And this is, again, InterGov is not, I am with SwiftGov, I'm not with InterGov, but with the county being on InterGov's platform, we're currently going to try to do what we can to support the team with your guys' I guess, continued integration with InterGov.
Right.
When we go do that, can we somehow get the folks a mic?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
they can be on the, I don't know if we have it, Ron, do you know if we have an extra mic up here to where they could come up, or do we need to change our?
If anything, we can bring this mic over, and
Okay.
I would love to, yeah, that would be great, so we
Okay.
can interact with folks. And I did see one last one jumping in. Okay, come on, let's hear it. Yep.
And I don't know if it's clear enough. The split for you guys to work in the office.
Yes,
We are gonna still use an intercom for our communication between planning,
that's correct.
zoning, and the building department.
Yes.
We're gonna check inspection through intercom and Swift office or internal.
That's correct.
It's,
SwiftGov
there's a
is
little
in-
more to it than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
SwiftGov, we are currently supporting the county with a land development code rewrite. We're also supporting the county with workshops and community roundtables such as this one. We're also supporting the county with automated plan review, so helping automatically review permits in seconds. So that way staff can get better results to decide if it's an applicable comment or an unapplicable comment. And also supporting staff with standardized operating procedures.
But as a user, I still submitting everything in
InterGov.
through intercom.
Yes,
Yes,
Swift is gonna help you guys with your.
that's correct.
internally.
When
Yes.
you have a submittal, either development order side or BPR side, you will continue to move through InterGov and do your submittals. We have, on that side is our human element that we review. SwiftGov uses AI. We import all of those documents that were submitted, runs through their AI review. Those are the tools that help us finish our review with InterGov, and then we give those code comments or approvals through InterGov. So you will continue to use InterGov.
Right, and just for clarity, the SwiftGov, while it is certainly a tool that we are looking to implement and continue to do so on our side of the table, it will help folks in the public and the applicants that submit, folks that have questions. There's a kind of multiple layers in the work that we have ongoing with SwiftGov, right? Now, just to approach InterGov a little bit more, we also have something going on in the background now where we're working with the InterGov folks to create a more seamless and efficient review environment as well. So hopefully we'll see some good work on that side of the table as well.
That's a great question. I will defer to not my legal counsel, but also my legal counsel, John Merkin, who has a dual law degree from UF. I know he said no Gators this morning, but go Gators. So I'll defer to John Merkin.
Yes, it is possible to be on all one platform, and that would be something long-term that we would want, but it isn't something that can happen overnight. And back to the point about the data, that's really the most important thing, is having the data very well organized and consolidated, because that's the foundation for using AI effectively and getting the most out of AI. So I think that would be, the platform part actually is pretty easy. It's having the data organized is really the foundation of that.
I think the more, we can narrow down some of our mechanics, leaves us in a better spot. I mean, you got 5 things working behind the scenes, where, well, we got to check that one. Oh, we got to check that one. Or that one's not coming through, or that one's not talking to this one, which isn't talking to this one. I mean, the more we can condense that a little bit to where, we can focus on when there is a problem, 1 or 2 apps or software issues, that's better than not knowing out of the 5 which one are messed up. So, that's just my 2 cents. It's probably not worth it, but.
If I can jump in here, Commissioner, we've got several issues going on with our software, right? But however, InterGov is interconnected to other departments, so we can't simply unplug it and plug something else in, right? So it's tied in with code compliance, it's tied in with building permits. It literally touches just about everything in the county. We operate under a Tyler system. And we have hired, as the county, like Stephen said, we've done things where we're in the process of fixing some of this other stuff. And it's not going to be I guess to the end user, it's not going to be a transparent fix. This SwiftGov, the way the county's currently utilizing it, it's kind of like the computer when you carry your car in to be fixed by the technician. You don't have access to that computer or that information. Some of it's proprietary, where they actually plug into your car and tell you what's going on. But the mechanic actually tells you, this is what was wrong with your car. That's what SwiftGov is doing for the county. It's identifying things where there's inconsistencies, there's inefficiencies, there's other things. And we've taken, it's kind of like eating the elephant, one bite at a time. We have contracted with SwiftGov for several different things to help us move this process along. So, Ms. Howard, to answer your question, they're a tool that the county's using. It's not changing the way you're going to access information or anybody's going to put information in at this time. As Stephen mentioned earlier, we are working with InterGov. If you'll look back at some of the commission meetings, the commissioners actually approved a new contract with InterGov that brings some other things that were not originally purchased with the first contract with InterGov that probably should have been. But they've been identified, so now InterGov is working with planning. Once we get those pieces in place, we will integrate it with other entities and probably move SwiftGov to working with other entities within the county. The issue is it's just too big to bring in and say, okay, fix it all at one time. It would literally crash the system. So I use the analogy all the time. We are having to continue to operate. So it's like we're trying to change the flat tire on the car going down the road at 75 miles an hour on the interstate. Not saying we should be doing it that way, but that's the only way we can do it, because we can't stop and then say, okay, we're going to try to fix everything over the course of the next 3 years and then pick it back up, right? So hopefully that gives some clarity on what SwiftGov is doing here. And one of the great things that they do that I've looked at and was a big proponent of implementation is taking information and comparing it to other things and saying, this is something you need to focus on next. Or taking public input and putting it into a usable fashion and telling us, hey, you need to change the land development code this way, or you need to change the comp plan, or the land development code and the comp plan say two different things here. So, which creates a lot of confusion. So that's what the attempt here is to utilize SwiftGov as a tool internally to fix a lot of these problems and identify other problems that can be fixed. So
I'd
that's
just
where
like
we're
to,
at.
I'd like to add to your car analogy, hate to bring my wife into this, but when we used to paint houses, and we always used to paint every room white for some reason. Everybody wanted white. So I would think I'd be done. I go in there and I'm like, I'm patting myself on the back, and then she comes in there, and then after she leaves, I go in there and there's blue tape everywhere because I missed tons of stuff. And I think that's where we're at now. We've just been focused so long on what's always been that we're lost in what everything could be. And I think SwiftGov is a perfect tool into telling us, hey, I think we need to do this, or you've been doing this for so long, that's why it's affecting this. So, I mean, I'm all for this. I'm glad everybody is out here that's come here. We need more people this afternoon. We need more input from the public. We're here to listen to you. I mean, we're not going to fix it. It didn't get this way overnight, folks, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. So we just need to keep this community, transparent as much as we can, and listen to you guys. That's it.
Thanks, Commissioner Curry. That's something we'll definitely probably do a deeper dive in later on. We're excited about our partnership with Walton County. Y'all have some great folks here. We're really proud to be partnered with Walton County and support the county in any way possible. So we're really going to try our best to be here and be boots on the ground and meet you all in person, so that way we can keep making good change together. So what we'll do is, we do have a few more slides left. I know we're coming up on time, and we have been doing casual Q&A during the session. So one last thing on property and zoning. So feel free to take a picture if you'd like. If not, if you did register for the event online, we will be sending this out, so that way you guys have the actual slide deck and can take a deeper dive on any of these topics. For the building details, Donnie, did you want to do a little walkthrough on building details and their requirements?
Yeah, what we're looking for with the building details, we have elevations. We look for the height, the overall height, methodology of how it's going to be computed for the height of the building, the elevations, the aesthetics of the house. We have neighborhood plans that says they have to be a coastal style. So we look at the aesthetics of the house. We look at any of the ISR that relates to the building. How many doors do you have open? Where are the sidewalks? So all of those are integrated with that site plan review on the building. So we look at the floor plan, see how many rooms, bedrooms, foundation type. Depends on what type of stormwater system you're going to use. If you're using a 3BMP, that's our tool to recognize what foundation you're using. And height.
Yeah, and then also for finished floor elevation, flood zones, setbacks, parking spaces, typically 2 for a single-family home, so that'll be 9 by 20 feet at a minimum, and roof overhangs, that'll be architectural projections into the setbacks limited to around 18 inches. And that's if the building's more than 8 feet above the ground. So as for the environmental and overlay zones, there are some. In Walton County, you guys are one of the, you have some of the most aggressive environmental regulations that I've seen across the state of Florida, which it's good. That means we need to make sure we conserve and protect our land appropriately, and that we support only appropriate growth, because there are certain areas with wetlands, or I'd say some are even applicable to military influence overlays. So there are maximum height requirements for those overlay districts. For coastal control lines, structures seaward, obviously we're kind of in the middle here, so we don't really have to worry too much about coastal control lines in this district. Coastal protection zones, wildlife lighting, scenic corridor, and preservation buffers is a big one. So if you are within or on the scenic corridor, you will have preservation buffer standards. And that's very important because, Walton County is very unique, and it's don't, I mean, I guess we're being recorded. I was going to say, don't tell my other counties. This is like one of my favorites because it's so beautiful. And, you know, my son, every time we come through, my son just turned 1 and he just points at all the trees and it's just a stunning area and we need to continue to protect it. So that's why we do need to have an emphasis on the scenic corridor and preservation buffers. As for what most often, and you will notice I am going a little faster, mostly we have a few more items we need to cover, and what often slows a review down. So these are your top flags. So technically, which we will be presenting at the BOCC meeting coming up on the 26th, the top flags that are produced based on every single family home that was reviewed by SwiftGov. Basically, we capture top comments that are generated, so that way we know areas that the applicants could have a bit more clarity and we can have more dialogue with communities. So stormwater drainage or grading not shown on the plan, parking spaces are missing or not dimensioned, impervious surface ratio not totaled, finished floor elevation is missing or below required, and you know, a lot of people, one deep dive on finished floor elevation. This is critical, especially within our flood zone communities. It's very essential that we build to the appropriate elevation to make sure that we can protect the people that are going to then buy that home. That's something that, you know, industry professionals and even the county, we're going to try everything we can, at least for new construction, to make sure it's built to appropriate elevation. Thank you so much for coming. Bye. And, you know, setbacks not dimensioned. As long as you're showing your setbacks and following the rules, you should be good to go. So that's another one. Make sure setbacks are dimensioned and the legal description does not match the deed. So make sure, you know, if you are submitting, pull the exact wording. It's okay if it's a little long, at least you're going to make sure that you're following that requirement. You know, we do have a few more surveys, 2 more surveys to cover in this session. Each are about 9 questions long. We will appreciate if you guys can participate. I promise I'll try my best to pull up the correct one the first time. And this community survey, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share my screen with the community survey. Yes, that's the one we started with. We were supposed to go into that one the second time. I will reshare my screen in 1 second. Thank you for your patience. While we're getting that pulled up, does anybody have any questions that they would like to jump in and ask staff? We'll go with someone new first. I think that's San. San, do you want to jump in?
So we currently have a floodplain manager and an environmental planner. We are looking for an environmental specialist or an environmental floodplain specialist as a backup to those other 2 positions to take some of that workload off of them. We've been a little unsuccessful in finding the right candidate, but the position's open and we're still looking.
And while you guys have been looking, where have you been posting? You guys have done a lot of outreach, right?
Yeah, we have. You know, we've tried to post in all the, you know, environmental groups that we could think of, LinkedIn, and then all the other sort of regular locations that we would post a government position.
Would you say LinkedIn is utilized as one of the more frequent platforms now to get applicants?
I suspect so, yeah. There may be others that match it, but LinkedIn's high on that list.
Awesome, okay.
When it comes to the environmental stuff, I say the stuff, those standards kind of get fairly aggressive, and I speak from my current experience. The CDLPC just threw me off in the discussion of, you know, is it located within 200 feet? It's a lot, or it's not built before 1996. There's so many different flow charts. Is there any way on your end that we could make this a little more streamlined for not just ourselves, but the homeowners that we
Have you actually seen, San, sorry, I know I can't see you, but I hear you. So I was wondering, have you seen other jurisdictions do this streamlined process
I
more
have not,
efficient?
But this is my first time getting wrapped up in one that's giving me more headaches than I could.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, and what are the main comments that normally populate with this type of scenario?
Well, I think my issue from experience has been that, typically, if I submit for a project and something fails, I get like a failure. I get a phone call or I get comments that kind of bring me back and, hey, you're missing this or you didn't get that. It's easy for me to call up and say, hey, man, speak in this way, and she can pull it up and walk me through it. I mean, just one heck of a skill she has. When it comes to the environmental stuff, we've made it past landscape architects and stormwater engineers and HOA specialists and all these guys, when you come back, it's like, nope, this number is not matching whatever today's standard is, but it matches what was done in 2019.
Gotcha. So it's what you're submitting, is this like the survey that you're submitting that doesn't match what was done in
It's
2019?
The entire plan.
Okay. I think for that one, we'd probably need to see an example, and I have no problem as well. Feel free, and this goes for everybody in here. If there was a point in time where we said to reach out to Walton County Planning, please include in your subject line SwiftGov, and they'll make sure to loop me in as well. I would love to hear more about this particular project or different scenarios that you might have had that are similar, so that way we can kind of go through it, because especially if no other county is doing it, I'm not saying, the thing is with SwiftGov, we want Walton County to be the best. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that it is streamlined, but in order to do that, we would like some thoughts and feedback. So if that's cool with you, San, would you mind?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, thank you. All right.
Let me just add, just briefly, we recognize that the coastal dune lake protection zone can be a bit cumbersome on your side and our side of the table, for that matter. It's a complicated measure at some times, and there's 3 or 4 different things that we have to kind of consider when we're looking at these things, right? Open space and natural space and ISR, and all these things kind of get muddled up, and it's hard to get to that finish line sometimes. We're very well aware. A lot of those requirements are in the comp plan, so there's not variances allowed for it. So we're looking at ways to improve how folks can utilize that language. So just bear with us in that respect. And I think we're probably the only county in the Panhandle with coastal dune lakes that are actually protected in any real degree. So it's a meaningful thing, right? Our hearts are in the right place historically. So we're going to continue to try to protect them to the best we can, but cognizant of the issues that can arise, we'll do our best to improve them.
To add to that, I believe Eastern Lake, we do have a moratorium around that particular lake as well, so.
The outfall, right? Yep.
Correct.
All right, yes, Jason. Well, also while Jason's teeing up his question, if you guys could scan the QR code, it would be appreciated, so that way we can make sure. Yes, I will do a screen share or click and drag. Here we go. All right, now everyone can see each other's responses. Feel free to go ahead and jump in.
I was just going to follow up on that environmental question, because there's a scale of complexity when it comes to environmental. Is any environmental component being reviewed by our environmental planner, or is it a scale of, determining a wetland buffer is a little bit easier than determining compliance with the coastal dune lake. So I was just curious if all of those are going through the same route, or if they're being teed off to, okay, these are this.
If there's an environmental consideration, it is to be reviewed by the environmental planner and the environmental reviewer. It is something that's essential, but it should also be listed on the survey. So if a survey is being completed and submitted to the county, and Stephen, you can jump in, but that's if a survey is being completed and submitted to the county, that survey is required to show wetlands, flood zones, and environmental considerations or features.
Yep. So the environmental planner is directly involved with every development order application. And he is looking at buffers in that respect and all the other encumbrances on the site, right? So when it comes to BPR, he doesn't review every BPR, but he does when there is an identified, environmentally sensitive area.
Which is required to be on the survey, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so if there's a wetland, the environmental planner has to review that.
currently, that is the way that we treat that.
If it is obvious it is nowhere near the wetland buffer, then it gets pulled out of his review.
Yeah, there are
But typically, most of
exceptions.
them go, but we have been filtering out because of his workload.
He is, and I'll say it, I've said it before, he's the busiest person on staff.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out, if he's getting every review that has potential, or if it's.
Yeah.
If it's listed on the survey, we'll be going to the environmental planner.
Yep.
You know it. Well, that's
Well,
kind of
at-
right
at
now,
the-
they're growing appropriately and trying
Yeah.
to bring on the staff that's needed.
And that's
So,
just it. Once we get that specialist on board, they'll be focused on the BPR side of things to move that, forward much more efficiently. So, but yeah, in terms of just internal conversations, how we can reduce some of that workload, they're ongoing.
if you know of an environmental planner, Jason, I mean, we will poke you for that one.
Because that's a relatively new process
Environmental review?
for BPR for everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, is that something that's been identified through the work of, this is a point that we need to?
No, it wasn't a new thing that's been going on. It's a couple years old at this point. Yeah.
We did have a relatively new staff that had to train as well. So we needed someone who could review that specialized.
And while we're still wrapping up the survey, I mean, feel free, I think we can continue the dialogue with the audience as well. That way we can get some more thoughts and, yes. Can you say your name? Because I keep.
My name is Simon.
Simon. Okay, Simon's up, guys. All right, Simon.
I work for Holiday Bill.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, you guys are everywhere right now. Yes.
So I'm a PM for Holiday. I cover everything from Mexico Beach to Freeport,
Oh,
where I do leaf and lake ranch.
okay.
I can walk.
Lake Ranch is beautiful. Yes.
Quick thing. How, after everything, how this is going to improve for time? Like, we are 10 weeks for BPR review. What is the improvement now? What are the particulars of the
So I would say for review turnaround time, that's something that's been a huge priority. First thing was to standardize operating procedures within the department. That's something that we've launched now with the BPR review process. In all of our jurisdictions, right now, SwiftGov has an average review turnaround time of just a few days. We anticipate that to be the same in Walton County, and we want that to be the same in Walton County. So we're going to do everything we can to push forward with it. It'll take probably a few more months, but I think by then we'll have some really nice stats to hopefully show the community, because the goal is, especially with some friendly developers such as yourself that are showing up, it's nice that you guys are here and involved. We appreciate that. And we hope to do some type of appropriate partnership to support affordable housing as well, because obviously with permit delays, it costs developers a lot of money. And with it costing developers a lot of money, one project in particular we saw was, I believe, a 132-day delay that cost $16.9 million. So if we're able to process permits faster, we're hoping that we can bring down some housing prices as well, as a part of, our efforts in trying to speed up the permitting review process. So that's something I look forward to really discussing with you as well, because we have talked to quite a few developers in our other communities, but it'll be great to see how Holiday Builders will support those efforts. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much.
And just to add to that, we've been directed by the board to be able to return BPR submittals, at least under first review, I believe within the first week in South Walton. and within 3 days, I believe, in
It was 3 days
of
for
the
North
bay?
Walton.
Yeah, so that's ultimately what we're after.
If you ever experience anything more than that, again, feel free to reach out to planning, tag SwiftGov, and we will gladly do a deep dive on how, especially if they're appropriate. If they're a mess, we'll tell you they're a mess.
Right, so, I mean, when it comes down to submittals, right, so, you know, there's a number of reviews that go into just the initial submittal. If we don't have everything that we need to review, we don't start the review, right? So that's gonna hold us and hold you up right off the bat. So that's number one. Make sure your application is complete and we have all the information we need to review. And then, you know, we can proceed as we should, right? So, and we should be, with the help of SwiftGov, doing things much faster when we get everybody onboarded and fully staffed, so.
And just out of curiosity, Simon, and you might not have this off the top of your head, but since you're here and since we have so many friends from the county here as well, and I'm sorry in advance for putting you on the spot, but how much does it cost holiday builders or a developer such as yourself, like, how much does it cost you guys for delays? Like, for example, the 10-week delay?
Well,
And how many homes was it?
big example is, EA loans in military house.
Yep.
So, we are in a timeline that tricky part, we can't promise a homeowner that just bought a house from us that he will be able to move in 6 months. Because the time for planning and signing is completely unknown. So,
And you said planning and zoning
yeah.
in particular? Okay, yep.
It's unknown. It can take from 5, 6, 8, 10 weeks, and I can't predict that. So we have folks military in active duty who are families on basing, you name it, Korea, Middle East, and they need to move in, and we're like, I don't have the house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And it costs us a lot of money, because sometimes we have full houses or an inventory to renovate military families.
So it costs millions. Yeah, yeah.
And I've been in that position a couple times, and it costs in cancellations.
Yeah.
Because, think about 2 hours to build a house, and per cycle for 100, 120 days per house, have to match the production that we're like, here. 100 days is a healthy cycle time, but on top of that 100 days, I have to pay over.
Well, that's super interesting, and thank you for shedding some light on that. I think Commissioner Curry's also been emphasizing the need for faster permitting, pretty aggressive across the board for development services. So what we'll do is,
I got a couple families that are being stocked and their bases overseas because, for example, and another example happened after everything is reviewed sometimes, and the birds, all the birds on the front desk, I work close with them, I want to work with them, but if I have to rely on the system itself, sometimes will come and help.
yeah,
It can create a 1 week, 2 weeks delay on a stormwater letter review.
Yep.
Because bugs on the system, and those two.
and when you say bugs in the system, which system?
I think it's on the internet.
Okay.
For example, quick one is the address is not being assigned to this
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
Yes, it's
And-
not being addressed to this property. Yes, the permit is one. It was submitted before the county used an address, so no, we have no address.
Yeah.
That bug with 3, 4, 5 days delay to that thing, it was 3, 4, 5 days delay. These delays and stuff like that, that are moving property.
Yeah, we can't have that, especially for our vets trying to come home. So what we'll do is, let's definitely dive into that conversation a bit more in a few minutes. What we'll do real quick, I do want to do a brief GIS demonstration to show the team here how to utilize Walton County's GIS system. This is just going to be a high-level overview. Stephen, could you provide me with a county address?
Can I just ask one question? I'm hearing a lot with the intergov issues. Do we have a current agreement to where one of their representatives can come here and sit down with folks and discuss these issues? I mean, this is like the fifth or sixth issue that I've heard out here. Do we not have that in the contract?
So we do. And I don't think that it is a public-facing meeting, but we already have scheduled in the books for at least one intergov rep to come in and sit with us for 3 or 4 days as part of that contract for the ongoing work. Yes.
So are we, again, I apologize, if we can get a wireless mic on the next session tonight, I'll walk around and hold the mics, but I don't think they're going to hear these questions. Are we going to take questions and write them down, so when this intergov person or this representative gets here, we can address some of the issues that the citizens have?
Absolutely. We've been taking notes for the last 2.5 years on what,
Perfect.
What those issues are from staff's perspective, from the public's perspective. So, yeah, we're trying to address them all.
Thank you, Stephen.
While we're coming up on time, what I'll do is I am going to show you guys briefly how to utilize GIS for Walton County. So you can find this GIS mapper by Googling Walton County GIS or going and finding it on the Planning Department's website. To utilize the tool, you would type in an address. After you type in an address, you then have the ability to go through, and this is satellite imagery provided by Esri. Esri has something called community maps, which allows you to see either satellite imagery or right here with the 4 squares at the top right corner. You can change the base map. One way to change the base map, you'll click here, and it will give you a bunch of different options. Sometimes, obviously, depending on what you're trying to relay, if you do need to make a map, you can go ahead and add a colored pencil. This is one of my favorites. It's just like kind of pretty colored pencil, or a community map, or if it's a super tough developer project, and not Simon's, of course. Simon's working with us. But a dark gray canvas to emphasize, nighttime, or you have other imagery that you could utilize, such as navigation or even blueprint. Blueprint's kind of cool and pretty, but one of my favorites is sticking with imagery. It's an easier way to see what's going on. After you click the base map, you can go ahead and click the legend. The legend will show you what's actually shown on this specific map, which I know we talked briefly about streets earlier. You can see the US highway, state road. Let's say, there's a whole bunch of lines on here. We want to just zoom in. We're like, okay, what is this red line that's appearing here? We can go ahead and click that line, and then a pop-up comes up. That pop-up will then show you the name of the road or alternative name, what municipality it's within. Also, if there are other items to see, you can click the right arrow to see the next feature. Bless you. And for the municipality, this will show you every attribute within this specific parcel where you clicked. So it'll just show you different items that are currently within your layers that are turned on. So this is the municipality is within Freeport, and it seems that this is within flood zone X. So those are the only layers that we have turned on. So those are the only that will populate. You can see which ones are turned on by looking at your legend, or we can go to your layer list. Your layer list, you'll be able to turn on and off additional layers, which is pretty cool. This tool will let you, let's say we wanted to see our voting precincts. That's always important to know. Obviously, since this is within Freeport, there are none that are applicable within the county, or actually there might be. So right here, this is a boundary. So a polygon. The polygon, let's look up our address. We're going to click this address. As soon as we click this address, it'll take you to that specific point. ArcGIS is built with 3 different types of features, which is points, lines, and polygons. For your points or lines, right here, if we clicked on our parcel, we can see the parcel ID number. We could also see what additional information. This is the voting precinct and where it's located at Freeport Community Center behind City Hall, and it also gives you the address. So this will show you the additional attributes like flood zones and their boundaries. So let's say we wanted to click the evacuation zone. You'll see that this layer is now turned on, and that is very prominent. So basically, the way that this is ordered, your address points will be shown at the top, but anything else, let's say I turned on my Board of County Commissioner districts, you don't see any colors changing, even though technically they could change and they should change. But the reason why you don't see any is because of the layering order. So the layering order is going to show whatever is at the top versus the bottom. But if I still clicked on my property, I'd be able to see the additional information for my Board of County Commissioner district. So I would keep clicking to the right, which says next feature, to be able to see the additional attributes which were aligned with that specific layer. So this one, it's Board of County Commissioner District, District 1. I believe that's that guy right there, Commissioner Curry, awesome. But yeah, so as for additional layers, we can continue looking at them. One of them is the erosion control line, mean high water, planning areas. The ones that will be most applicable to this room, I would say, are the planning layers. Some of them being the planning areas or planning overlays. If you click the drop down, you'll be able to see if there are any applicable planning overlays, such as adopted neighborhood plans, community development districts, or court-ordered overlays. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to turn off this main layer here, which I believe might be, let's see, which one is this? All right, we're clicking the drop down. This is our evacuation zone. We know this is the evacuation zone because it's the dark orange, so we're just going to turn it off so we can continue to view our map. And as we're scrolling down, let's see, what additional items do we have here? We have zoning, we have future land use. You guys also have Freeport zoning. That's pretty cool. A lot of counties, especially when in areas incorporated with their own city or their own districts, they don't always have those. So that's actually cool. This is my first time noticing that. So that's awesome.
Well, I brought that, and I didn't know that they've already done this or it was already done that before I requested, but I had asked that the layers be put in here when it comes to development as well, so I can know what Freeport's doing, I know what Definiak's doing, I know I can layer them all together and say, hey, look, we got a lot going on right here from the city, Definiak Springs, and county, so maybe we need to focus infrastructure, roads, whatever case may be there. And then you can take those layers off and look at what the county's doing separately, Freeport's doing separately, Definiak Springs is doing separately. So it looks like we're headed in that direction.
Yeah, it does. So props to County GIS for that. I haven't met them yet, but I'm excited to because this is actually looking pretty good. And even I would say some of the big ones, you know, USGS contours, depressions, showing the topography is always very important. And let's say hypothetically soils, if you wanted to make sure you were planting an appropriate plant on that property to make sure it actually grows, you can make sure that, I believe Walton County follows the Florida landscape. Sorry, what is that one, Donnie? You know? I thought you were going to jump in. Florida landscaping guidelines from the University of Florida. It's Florida-friendly landscaping. So the Florida-friendly landscaping, it's based on, and it will suggest, I know we already said UF, I'm not supposed to say it. I know, I see you guys like shaking your heads at me, but it's fine, it's fine. So the University of Florida has come up with Florida-friendly landscaping to suggest different types of plantings based on the soil type. So while selecting those plants for those particular properties, if you look up the address, turn on the soil layer, you'll be able to know what type of soil your property has, but also then you can refer to the Florida friendly landscaping guidelines to find appropriate plantings for that soil type. So if we clicked here, we would be able to see the different soil types by identifying in our attribute table. We would continue clicking the next feature until we saw the title with soils. So this would be your soils, and this would be applicable to this specific property. So I'll go ahead and close this and turn off my soil layer. And for other items that are a little interesting for this crowd, I would say obviously wind zones are very important, especially for the building review process. You know, there's certain Florida building code requirements. This is a state requirement based on if you are in a certain wind zone, you are required to follow certain guidelines by the state. For wildlife conservation zones or white sand protection inlet, you can continue to turn on these layers as well. Since we are in Freeport, I will skip over some of those for now. But ones that I will turn on, let's see, we have the storm surge. Storm surge is always pretty interesting. I'll turn on the dune lakes just for fun, so that way everyone can see, because right here we do have some dune lakes that populate. So if I click on this purple polygon, we'll click to the right, and we'll continue to, let's see, this is storm surge.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, yeah.
Okay,
You'll have to back off of it to get any kind of dune
gotcha.
lakes.
Okay, well, if you guys are wondering, we're in a storm surge zone. So that one's a cool one. And I'll just go ahead and scroll down our map so we can maybe see some dune lakes. But if you zoom in, it's kind of like you open a paper bag or a bag of potato chips if you have a trackpad, or you close paper bag or potato chips to zoom in and out of your map, or you can use the left zoom in, zoom out tool. And other than that, I'm just going to pause here because I know we are up on time, and we do appreciate everyone for coming to this session. If you do have time for a last-minute survey on if this was actually helpful, or if you would prefer that we don't do this again, that would be appreciated. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one last time. But also, if you do have to head out, we completely understand and appreciate that you guys took the time to come in and voice your opinions and get to know the planning team. So on behalf of Walton County Development Services, Commissioner Curry, and SwiftGov, thank you guys for being here, but I will pull up that last survey in case you guys can take it, so that way we can see if it was a helpful session.
Instead of my closing comments, if there's somebody out there that would like to have another shot at a question while everybody is here, and if I hate to ask this, but I'd like to hear the questions on the recording. So could you come up and talk into the mic, pretty please?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you, Commissioner Curry.
Yes.
And
You don't want to come up and talk into the mic? You want to take that, Steve?
Yeah, so I think there may be a misunderstanding, only because you use the term prioritize, right? So as staff, we wouldn't look at, say, a D.R. Horton that's submitted to take priority over, Holiday or another builder or developer in town. That's just not how we would operate it. It's based solely on first come, first serve, and available staff to review it. Much of our staff currently, I think under Donise, they're working on queues, review queues, over 50 different BPR applications submitted. So, it's not based certainly, and I just want to emphasize that there is no prioritization given to any one developer or applicant over another.
And I think as we progress forward with SwiftGov and everything else, and we start tightening up the processes, I'm hoping that, that question won't be asked again, to be honest with you.
I'm a little curious too, and this could be something we could talk about afterwards. I know Donnie's and I have left some cards here on the table, and I believe Stephen has too, so feel free to reach out to any of us. But as, someone, I worked as a senior planner here, I'm just curious how, to hone in more specifically on your question, what is it that we're not providing to you? Sure. Yeah,
Well, I think and sorry, could you say your name as well? Awesome. Well, thank you for coming to the session, and especially because it sounds like it is associated with a particular PUD or larger development. We would suggest that you have the project name and maybe even enter into a pre-application meeting with staff. Is that a possibility?
well, it sounds like she's already done a pre-app because she got a packet. So.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
Ms. Tamara, if you would, grab my card, call me. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks before I'll have an opportunity, you know, to make time to sit down with you. But even if it's over the phone, let's talk.
Well, that's awesome that you're taking it on, because you're right, that is something that's not really addressed in a lot of developments, especially large-scale developments. So I think what we would do is, although you have entered into a pre-app previously, I would highly suggest doing another pre-app prior to submitting, so that way we can make sure that you get as much comments and feedback from staff as appropriate. There are a long list of pre-apps that staff, they do take time to put aside, make sure that they can appropriately support your project. So we do take it as the pre-app meetings come in on request, that does go into a queue to where staff would then take the pre-app meeting as well. But I do think that's a very, also, isn't there an economic development coordinator with the county as well?
That's
Is
a
there?
separate entity.
Okay, well.
Won't go there.
Oh, yes, well, on that note, I would highly suggest the pre-application, especially now that you've come in person as well, and hopefully we can like say hi and, you know, because after today's session, we are going to be around for those that would like to stay and talk a bit more about particular projects. So that would be great if you could.
And we just had a housing summit, and I'd love, if you have time, I would love to sit down with you personally, because I like the ADA look, I really do. And we also have a board member here in the front with the housing board. So I mean, I'll give you my card afterwards, and I'd love to sit down with you too to talk more about
Wait, could that board member raise their hand real quick?
Tabitha Howard.
Tabitha
Howard.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that'll be great.
Are you seeking a Live Local Act development?
Yeah, I'd really love to listen to you on that. I really would.
That's great. Yeah, let's definitely, after today's session, and for those of you that walked back in, feel free to jump in the survey. This is just like engaging to see if it was helpful or not. If it wasn't, please tell us so we can do better next time. So, because this is going to be going on for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we will be meeting with your other community members. So with that, you know, thank you again to all of you that attended today's session. And what we'll do is staff will come down and stick around and hang out and talk to you guys. So that way we can stop the live recording. And then, you know, if I understand you guys have already spent so much time. So thank you guys for your time today. And hopefully, I know we'll be seeing some of you guys at the other sessions. So thank you.
Thank you.